Last year, an Oregon coach was fired from his position as the head coach of track and field for raising concerns about men and women's sports after he filed a complaint with the school district and the association that oversees sports for Oregon. He was fired. He then announced he was suing the school district for wrongful termination, and now he reacts to the recent President Trump ban on men and women's sports. I'm going to break it all down for you. Let's go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. If you're on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any video that I release. And if you're on X, if you're on any other platform, give me a follow at David Medina PDX. I'm the most active on Instagram. Give me a follow there if you have an Instagram account. It's getting a lot more free over there. I'm starting to notice that they're starting to let things not just be posted, but actually like be seen by my followers and by, you know, non-followers. So Mark Zuckerberg is definitely holding to that promise that he's going to go in the direction of free speech and honoring the First Amendment. So give me a follow on Instagram if you're there at David Medina PDX. Guys, John Parks, I want you to remember that name because he and other people in blue states, they're the ones that inspire those across the country that there are still people fighting in the trenches. Like here in Oregon, Dave Brown, another coach in the area, good friend Dave Brown, him and his wife decided to resign from their head coaching position in the Canby School District right outside of Portland. He was over the madness. He was over the gender madness and allowing men and women's sports and all this kind of stuff. So there's another guy that you probably don't hear much about because he's kind of been more low profile. His name's John Parks, and he was the head coach of the Lake Oswego. Lake Oswego is 10 minutes outside of Portland. Super leftist, just like Portland. He was the track and field coach for the Lake Oswego High School, won multiple state titles. And so it says it right here. This is from the feels like Las Vegas, Lake Oswego Review, Lake Oswego track and field. And I'm going to get it right, folks. Just bear with me. I'm going to freaking get it right. I'm going to get the peanut butter out of my mouth. Lake Oswego track and field and cross country coach John Parks was dismissed from his position. This was last summer, citing a letter he sent to state officials regarding a change in policy related to transgender athletes back in May. This is May of 2024. Parks led the Lake Oswego Lakers, to 3 straight state championships on the girls' side. 2022, 2023, 2024 wrote 2 separate letters, one addressed to Peter Weber, the executive director of the Oregon Scholastic Athletic Association, or OSAA as we know it, and one addressed to the state senator, Rob Wagner. The current OSAA's rule can be found under policy, blah, 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 and allows for a student athlete to compete in the gender for which they identify as. So this is the current rules here in the United States, or in the state of Oregon. So they're basically saying, yeah, if a male athlete says they want to transition to female, they can play in female sports. So dangerous for our girls and our young girls. We've already seen, track and field meet that was stolen from a high school girl at, I think she was at Roosevelt High School, was stolen by a male athlete from McDaniel High School in Portland in the 200 meter, 6A championship, state championship stolen. So we're already seeing the effects of this across the state. And then, so he decided to file a lawsuit. So ex Lake Oswego coach seeks court order to get job back, alleging district violated his free speech on transgender athletes. A federal judge Friday, this was back in 2024, remember, I'm setting the stage because he reacted to this. We're going to show you the video here in a sec of him reacting to Trump's transgender ban, and I'll have comments on it. Federal judge on Friday did not appear ready to order Lake Oswego District to put ex-track coach John Parks, because the federal judge, all the judges here in Oregon are all radical leftists. But the U.S. District Judge Michael Simon did say in a court that he believed in a letter Parks wrote protesting a transgender girl's participation in a state track competition was protected speech. You guys are seeing how far they're willing to go to push this gender ideology and push this transgender and meanwhile erasing women, meanwhile not standing for women's rights, putting women, biological women back in the back seat. You're seeing how far they're willing to go. They're willing to literally fire a 3-time state champion track coach who is beloved. I've talked to people that know him, that in this area, that have been coached by him, that love him. He is beloved by the community, and they were willing to sacrifice him to push this madness, to appease a small percentage, tiny percentage of the population. Parks, now 62, sued the school district and school board in July, arguing they violated his First Amendment right to free speech by initiating a retaliatory investigation and terminated his coaching contract after he spoke out. So he basically complained about, this whole madness going on. He stood up. This is why people don't speak up. This is why people remain quiet, because they'll just fire you. And it takes courage, because you're seeing what Mr. Parks is going through, Coach Parks here. You're seeing what other people like Dave Brown has gone through. And so he reacted. So last week, Trump signed an executive order to federally ban transgender athletes in women's sports, right? It's a good thing. In my opinion, it's a good thing because, again, we're erasing women, and it's also not fair. It's also like biological males are literally males. I don't know why I said biological, but males are stronger, faster. It's common sense. I don't need to go into it or explain it. But basically, Trump signed the executive order that he was going to pull funding from school districts and pull funding wherever it needs to be pulled in places where they're allowing men and women's sports. Amen. Thank you, President Trump. So this coach reacted to Fox 12. This is from Fox 12. Oregon coach reacts to ban on transgender athletes from women's sports. So I haven't watched this whole thing, so let's watch it together.
Wednesday's news of a transgender ban in women's sports hits close to...
Notice he says transgender ban and not pro-woman, pro-woman law or executive order. It's always a ban, right? It's always a transgender ban.
The home for one local track and field coach here in Oregon, who says he was essentially let go from his job for speaking out on the issue last summer.
17, 18, 18-2, good job.
The politically correct thing to do is to protect all the athletes, not just a small sliver that feel like that they should have a right to compete against girls.
Former Lake Oswego track and field coach John Parks says by taking a stand for his female athletes by writing a letter to the OSAA before last year's state track meet, he's been unfairly singled out.
In doing so, I've paid a price because I applied for some
Good
jobs
for you,
and
sir.
didn't even get an interview.
Wow.
People made me too hot to touch and think that somehow I'm an evil, bad person for standing up for girls' sport.
We are going to find this guy because I'm almost positive I have people that have direct contact with him. We're going to find this guy. We're going to interview him. We're going to make a video out of it. Either we're going to interview him on Instagram Live or we're going to interview him where we do a video pre-recorded and we'll post it. I want to talk to this guy. Maybe I'll have him and Dave Brown over because those are two coaches in Oregon that have been forced to leave what they love doing, which is coaching kids, because they stood up against this madness. Two guys that stood up against the madness that have been forced to stop coaching kids he's still coaching, but not at the state level. This is through his nonprofit.
Parks, who still coaches about 36 athletes through his nonprofit Ultimate Speed Athletics USA, says he's always been an advocate of trans rights. But when it comes to competition, he believes the executive order highlights important disparities.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I was calling for, and that I want transgender athletes and individuals to have the opportunity to compete.
Mr. Parks, I think you're brave, and I commend you for taking a stand, but this is where I have to disagree with you because in my opinion, it's male and female. In my opinion, honestly, we love transgender people. But at what point are we going to stop lying to people? At what point are we going to stop giving into the madness and saying one thing like, "Oh yeah, we should have separate sports," and but yeah, they should have theirs. And a lot of these people are going to say, "Well, you're going to say, well, transgender don't have the right to exist." No, you have a right to exist. You just don't have a right to tell us what reality is. That's my issue. So I kind of differ with him on here, not to take away from the brave thing that he's doing. We got to start telling the truth, and we have to start. We got to. You've already gone this far, man. You know the truth, right? And on this channel, I have said many times that I love transgender. You'll see videos of me talking with transgender people. I've worked with transgender people. They're a lot of them are really nice, good people. A lot of them also don't want it they just want to be left alone. They don't want it shoved down the kid's throat. They just want to be left alone. They're adults. They make their own decisions. Okay, I can see that. I have my opinion on it. You know it. I know your opinion, but we shouldn't all have to participate in what you believe, right? Especially when it's not true. My daughter should not have to go play lacrosse against men in girls' sports. And same for all the other girls around in girls' sports around the nation, and especially in Oregon.
Be part of the high school athletics. I think it's valuable for them, but it's also not fair to the natural-born females that they have to compete in that situation because there's just an inherent advantage that has been defined.
However,
so, and you're going to hear fake news. Fox 12 start spinning this in a negative light. They're going to go after Trump, and they're going to have to do all that. But what we should be saying here, Coach Parks, and I really encourage you to really don't just stop there, right? I know you're saying, because it's so easy to fight for something when, like, you say, well, yes, they should. No, dude, they don't care. If you give these people any inch, or if you give them any inch, they're not going to care. Like if you say, well, they have yes, I believe, as a Christian, they have a right to exist. We should love them, but they're not living a life that's truthful. We got to tell them the truth. And what I would like to say is, Coach Parks, go even further, man. Like, it's because of this acceptance of the madness that's gotten us to this point. Do we not understand that? It's because of us refusing to have the courage to go even further and tell the truth about the issue itself. The root issue itself is why it's blossomed into now girls' sports. It's now your reason why you're seeing girls' championships being taken away from them and given to men. We have to start like telling the truth and going to the root of this, and not just because of it's not fair to girls or erasing women. Like, those are the products of the root. We have to talk about the root, guys. And the root is men cannot be women, women cannot be men. If you feel that way, if you want to identify that way, you can do that. You're free to do that. I don't think you should be bullied. I don't think you should be picked on. I don't think you should be passed up for jobs. But there needs to be a line in the sand, which is, you're not going to force me to participate in what you believe reality is. And you're not going to force my kids to also participate in that, and then also participate in it as much as where you're actually competing against men. Just not right.
many against the executive order say the sweeping change would be devastating for trans girls looking for a place to belong.
What about real girls?
Especially in sports. We spoke with Blair Stenvik with Basic Rights Oregon, who shared her concerns about the order.
Basic Rights Oregon. So get ready here for a radical Basic Rights Oregon. They're not fighting for no rights. They're fighting for leftist propaganda. This organization is terrible. They're not fighting for a damn thing other than the left propaganda machine and for their leftist radical ideology. Don't listen to me. Watch it.
Imagine her suddenly being removed, not able to play that sport with her friends. And her options are to not play or to play in a boys' team when she lives and is seen as a girl by her classmates. That is
why?
Really,
you know what? Why aren't you fighting? I'm going to ask you, ma'am, sir, whatever. I honestly don't know what you identify as. I really don't. I'm confused. Blair can be a girl or a guy's name. But like, why aren't you call yourself Basic Rights Oregon? Why don't you fight for the basic rights of actual girls who are getting pummeled by biological males out there? Why like, and it's such an unbiased person they put in this position, right?
An isolating experience.
The veteran coach, whose legal case with the district is still ongoing, says he hopes in some ways keeping men out of women's sports will bring the impact he hoped to initially make last year.
I think in the end it will be all for the good, and I will just have played a small role in that happening.
Meanwhile, the OSAA says it will need some time before coming to any conclusions about how the order will affect Oregon athletes. In West Lynn, Dylan Scott, Fox 12
OSAA.
Oregon.
Yeah, the OSAA is the one allowing this to happen. It's they actually based right over by me in Wilsonville. And we should go talk to them. We're probably going to go talk to them. We're gonna go ask them face to face, the director. Why are you allowing this? Why aren't you taking a stand for girls? So guys, I mean, and speaking of that lawsuit, right? His lawsuit is ongoing. The Liberty Justice Center has filed the lawsuit last year on behalf of Mr. Parks, Coach Parks. It says here is filed a First Amendment lawsuit against an Oregon school district on behalf of a high school track and field coach who was fired for proposing an open division for transgender athletes to compete in to ensure fairness for all student athletes. And you guys are probably, one of the arguments out there is, oh, here we go, segregation again. Listen, it's not the same, right? Because black people actually exist. Brown people actually exist, right? They're actually black and brown. It's like you can tell, right? And segregation was happening back in the Jim Crow era when they were looking at their skin color and separating by their skin. That's not right. That's racism. We don't stand with that. That's not, no. This is not the same. They're trying to say that transgenderism is the same as race. It's not, because it goes down to biology and it goes down to actual science, that they all of a sudden just poof, all the climate people, poof, they all ignore when it comes to this issue. And then when it comes to abortion issue, they just ignore, poof. Science, science, science. You need to get 4 boosters. Science, 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 climate change. And then all of a sudden, poof, when it comes to abortion. It's not a life, it's a clump of cells. It can't feel pain. Actually, yeah, studies have shown clearly that babies feel pain in the womb at a certain point. And they're still allowed to be aborted after that point. Science, science, science. Oh, until when it comes to basic biology. Okay. Look, you can identify however you want to identify, okay? But you're not going to force me or my kids or society to participate in it. I can go identify as a freaking, Chinese Rottweiler and go live as a Rottweiler. Does that mean everybody on the street is going to have to treat me as a Chinese Rottweiler dog? That's not how it works, man. If we don't stop this madness, if we don't stand up to this madness, what's next? It's always going to be pushed further and further, guys. Just look at history. And if you're watching this and you're like, this guy is against trans people, he's against, it's so easy for you to say that because you're so emotional. You can't look at like our point of view. I look at your point of view, which is why I don't hate you. And I think that you have a right to listen, if you're an adult, you have a right to live your life the way that you want. A lot of conservatives don't agree with me on this. But in my opinion, it's a free country. You do what you want. But when it starts affecting society and my kids and we have to cater to what you believe, that's exactly why you call for Bibles to be out of church. That's exactly why you call for separation of church and state. It's exactly why you say, you stand up like you shouldn't enforce your views on it. That's exactly the same argument, except in this case, it's actually a false thing that you're believing in my opinion. So there it is. Coach John Parks. Keep going, man. Keep going. I applaud you for standing up. I applaud you for doing the right thing. Let's go a little further. Let's start talking about the root of this whole issue, or else it's never going to go away. You think these trans people and people that believe, do you think they're just going to stand up and be like, oh, well, he says we should have our separate sporting thing. I guess that's good for us. No, dude, that's not how it works. They want the whole thing. Like and subscribe to the channel. If you're on YouTube, turn the bell on, click the belly bell for notifications. If you're on X, give me a follow at David Medina PDX and across all social media platforms. Thanks for joining us. And I hope you have a good day. We'll see you on the next video.